Good morning, everybody. We're going to be getting started here in just a couple minutes. We do have several folks on the line. Thank you so much for being early. Congratulations, Carrie. You were first. Good job. You must be really excited about this topic. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. We're going to give it just one more minute to let a couple other people join in. We can see that people are connecting. So we'll get started here in just a moment. All right, so we've got a couple more people that have joined, so that's awesome. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Hump Day. It is 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. My name is Bob Pothier, Solutions Architect with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and welcome to this presentation about HPE solutions for the new reality remote workspaces. As we all know, and the buzzword bingo, COVID bingo. Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Go ahead and check that one off, that kind of stuff. So the reality is we are working from home, and we're probably going to continue for a while. Even after we go back, we may find that our organizations, our school districts, our whatever, may decide that, wow, it actually does work, that people can work from home. They are productive. As we saw last week with one of the studies, that people actually are very productive when they're home. And as I said, much more productive at home because I can really just go into my office, shut and lock my door, and my kids can out in the hall. And when I was going into an office, come by the desk and stopping and things like that. So it's so a couple things real quick. Extra buttons. If you need to ask any questions, there's a Q&A button there, as well as you can resize all of your windows, things like that. This is not new to anybody, I'm sure, so you probably already know how to do all of these things. So the housekeeping items can go by pretty quickly. I'm joined by Mr. William Stark from Hewlett-Packard. Talk a little bit today about service and how HPE can help design VDI solutions for you, as well as Jeremiah Christensen, a good buddy. I'm being told that I'm up, and that's not a good thing. I am on my cell phone on Wi-Fi connection, so let me move it over to the other side of my desk, and hopefully that'll work. Jeremiah Christensen is the Regional Sales Director for SentinelOne. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about some security around your infrastructure as well. So let's get started. As we talked about last week, and if you weren't here, we were just kind of talking about what VDI is and where we can deploy it and how do we deploy it, why. And we see that obviously there's a lot of things that are going on around VDI today, and there's a lot of, I guess, requirements. Scalability is certainly a big one. And as you can see, it's this vicious cycle that as we go from scalability and performance, and then we get over to availability and, of course, being simple. And who's it supposed to be simple for? Is it supposed to be simple for IT to get deployed and to manage, or is it supposed to be simple for the end user, right, your customer, the end user? And the answer is yes. It's supposed to be for everyone. And, of course, there's a lot of challenges that do come with that. And when we talk about the challenges, obviously there's several sections to that. Managing, like I said, if you're in IT, then managing that is definitely could be an issue. As we were talking about just before this call, BYOD, bringing your own device or buying your own device, and those devices are getting so varied at this point. People are using tablets as their primary workspace. They're using laptops. They're using different kinds of laptops, different brands, different operating systems, different browsers, all of that kind of stuff, right? So those all become part of that issue. And then, of course, we've got things like VMware, or we've got Hyper-V, or we've got containers. All of those things become very, very complex. And so we're trying to find a way that we can very easily design and deploy those and then to manage those. And, of course, it all comes down to price. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through this presentation as well. Now, one of the sections that we talked about last week was the software portion. We're going to talk about the hardware portion, specifically from HPE, but there's also the software piece that runs on top of that hardware. And the two biggest ones probably at this point are going to be Citrix and VMware. And so they offer a great option for putting out VDI and then leveraging different types of hardware depending on the different workloads that you're going to be doing. As I mentioned last week, and William's going to talk about again today, there are different workload types, right? Whether that's just simple, Microsoft Office applications, or maybe you're talking about things that are a little more powerful, things like CAD and Visio and maybe Photoshop, Illustrator, that sort of thing. Certainly needing that extra power. So we have those different workloads that we need to make sure we plan for. And of course, latency, IOPS, all those, speeds and feeds, that's all more on the hardware side, but certainly the operating systems, the hypervisors, and these VDI solutions to be able to manage that. One of the other things that you see there in the middle is talking about availability and analytics. And so when we talk about that from an HPE perspective, we talk about something called InfoSight. Now I'm not going to talk too much about InfoSight. There's one other slide that I'm going to touch on that talks about that, but it came from the acquisition of Nimble Storage when HPE acquired Nimble Storage a couple of years ago. And that is our predictive analytics, our ability to collect sensor data, metadata from the environment and then be able to make predictive recommendations. When it comes down to issues, a lot of times people point to one thing or the other. It's usually either storage or networking. And that's unfair for storage administrators or VMware administrators or whoever is managing the storage. It's also unfair for the network admins because not everything is my fault, right? And so having something like InfoSight gives us the ability to really pinpoint where the issue is. And are we still on the same slide? So did I not? I may have. I thought I was on the right slide, so hopefully you guys can see that. I should be on the fourth slide at this point. So being able to see the cross-stack analysis, being able to see, is it storage, is it operating system, is it the hypervisor, is it the network, being able to figure out exactly where that issue might be. So that's where InfoSight comes in. Again, we'll talk about that here in just a second. Excuse me. When we talked about the power that we might need in our environment, especially when we talk about things like CAD or the Adobe Suite, things like that, needing that extra power and those graphics and that graphic power, being able to leverage things like the NVIDIA GPUs, of course. HPE has been partnering with NVIDIA for years and years. So we've got the Tesla M10 cards that we're putting into a lot of our systems. I'm actually just working on a university right now that is going to be working with our hyperconverged solution called SimpliVity, and they are putting in some Tesla M10 cards as well because they're going to need some of that for their design students. So we do have that capability, and of course we've been working with them for years, like I said. All right. Okay, so again, I'm not going to focus on InfoSight too much today because we're going to have other presentations on InfoSight, things like that here and there, out there on the web and things like that. But really the key point to InfoSight is that cross-stack analysis and being able to see where problems might exist. So right now we're talking about storage and networking, compute, the hypervisors, operating systems, containers, all of that stuff. So those are all out there. Oh, my slide accidentally moved forward one. Go back one real quick. All right, so we should be good. Are we good? I don't know. Somebody's saying that this might be incorrect, so this is kind of odd. So, all right. Hopefully that is showing the right thing. See, I said that we've all been doing this for so long, we all knew how to use it, and maybe I'm the one who's messing this up, so I apologize. And I'm actually not looking at the Q&A or anything like that. So we should be good to go. Hopefully you're seeing the info site slide. Let's go ahead and move on to the next piece so that way we can keep it moving. And we'll talk about the different options hardware-wise that HPE has. So on the HPE side, obviously we have a lot of options. We have a lot of different products. We have a lot of different product lines and different categories. I am from the storage piece, so that's what I typically talk about. But we have several different pieces to talk about when it comes to VDI because it's not just storage, right? When it comes to the compute, you should be seeing the HPE compute solutions, hopefully. And the HPE compute solutions for VDI, there's the top three. ProLiant servers, the #1 secure server on the market. Gen 10 servers are absolutely amazing. Silicon root of trust, being able to make sure that it can protect that from the factory all the way to deployment and use. And we check everything like once an hour and make sure that there's nothing that's happening on the hardware itself as well. Because a lot of things have firmware. Those firmware updates could cause issues, so we prevent any issues there. Synergy also has that type of thing, and that's the top left picture there. Synergy is our composable infrastructure. Some really great stories and some really great use cases that we've seen and success stories that we've seen from Synergy. It's amazing. Again, I'm a storage guy, but that thing is bananas. It's so cool. It is composable, meaning that you can set it up one way and then tear it down and build it up another way and actually have that design ready to be done at a push of a button. So we've got a big design firm for making movies out in Hollywood. They actually use Synergy during the day. It's set up so that people can do their design work, and then at night it basically takes everything down and rebuilds the infrastructure as a rendering engine, which obviously takes a lot of horsepower. And so they use the exact same resources, they just change how they use them instead of having to have double the amount of resources. So pretty awesome. And then there's Moonshot. Moonshot is the picture in the middle there. Great performance per dollar and per watt. It is a workhorse. I mean, just an absolute workhorse. You can see there are 360 cores just in that little 4U box. It's unbelievable. So lots of options when it comes to the compute side of the house. And then, of course, on the storage side, we have lots of options, but our two big options that we're talking about today, HPE Primera and HPE Nimble. The Nimble's on the right-hand side there. I mean, it's the bread and butter, right? It is exactly what most people need. Great performance, great scaling ability, as well as a great cost point. And then on the left-hand side, the HPE Primera. I'll skip right down to the very bottom note here, 100% availability guarantee. So we actually guarantee that array will continue to work 100% of the time, or we'll pay you. It is an absolutely amazing piece of gear. We announced it last year, actually almost a year ago now. It was last year at Discover, which this year will be virtual because of everything that's going on. But HPE Primera, absolutely amazing. Timeless storage, service-centric OS, meaning that you can actually go in there and make adjustments, make updates and firmware updates, things like that, without affecting the system or the data. So absolutely amazing piece of gear if you're looking at that real tier 1 storage, actually tier 0, because it does offer that zero downtime. And then we have the HPE hyper-converged options. So on the left-hand side, we have SimpliVity, which I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. That's our hyper-converged offering. And then we also have HCI, which is disaggregated hyper-converged. And what that is, as you can see in the picture there, is ProLiant servers along with nimble storage, and add some networking in there as well. The difference between the two is, the SimpliVity is more of a node-based approach. So when you add another node, you're adding more compute, more memory, more storage, as opposed to the DHCI, where if you need more capacity, you can add that independent from compute, or you can add performance but keep the capacity the same. So two really awesome options if you're looking for hyper-converged. Again, making things easy on yourself. Everything wizard-driven, leveraging vCenter, things like that. So some great options. I was asked by someone in our organization to put in at least one success story, and I was given 6 of them, and I said, "You really want me to mention Corona?" And so I said, you know what? I think I will, actually, because this is a great use case and a great success story. This is a school district. They are leveraging nimble storage. They're leveraging the InfoSight for their monitoring of the VDI environment. And then, of course, they are using vSphere with Horizon. So they were able to reduce their infrastructure by about half. They actually had a 6-to-1 reduction in storage admin FTEs, which stinks for 5 of them. And then they scaled their VDI to over 3,000 concurrent users, which if you have kids that are at home and they're working on stuff and they have certain applications or certain things that they're trying to get access to, our kids use something called Schoology that on the first day back to school completely crashed. Well, I mean, what do you expect? You have like 1 million kids all logging in at the exact same time. So obviously having that ability to scale is absolutely huge. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. William Stark, who's going to talk a little bit about GreenLake as well as Point Next when it comes to VDI. William?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for that. So my name is William Stark. I'm a solutions architect here at HPE. I focus on workplace, mobility, and productivity. So things like virtualization, remote working capabilities, Office 365, VPNs, things on those lines. And so it's server virtualization, desktop virtualization, everything that goes into making that work, including security. So as I'm speaking, feel free to use the Q&A box to ask some questions. I am actively monitoring it. And if I can't answer your question during the session, I'll go ahead and try and get back to you as soon as possible. So first, let's talk about what is GreenLake VDI? So GreenLake is a fancy marketing name we've given to the ability to purchase or acquire products and services under an OpEx model. So it's a pay per unit per month type model versus a single large expenditure. So instead of buying 20 pieces of gear at X dollars, you can buy the same 20 pieces of gear and use it in a specific way and pay a specific amount per month. So it's pretty much just it's almost like leasing versus buying, right? So that's kind of what GreenLake is from an HPE perspective. And what this does is this allows you to free up, capital funds and reallocate operational funds or kind of move things back and forth. And that's kind of what we're offering to our customers today is the option to go either way. So you're able to purchase hardware and software and services as a service instead of just one time. So what this does is this reduces complexity. And in cases where you're trying to do this for VDI, it helps, your migration to the cloud or to the new platform. And it actually reduces your total cost of ownership and cost of implementation. So let's click on beyond this. So what GreenLake is offering today that is VDI relevant is what we have called VDI as a service. Now what this does is this basically takes ownership of the entire stack except for the desktop image. Now we do offer that as an option if you want us to manage desktop image, but otherwise we'll manage everything below it. So the server operating system, the hardware, the network, firmware updates, everything to do with the server, the storage, compute, memory, all those things, even the hypervisor and the base delivery method. That's all wrapped into what we call VDI as a service, and then we leave the Windows 10 image or the customer image up to you to manage. Now, so that allows customers to basically just do add moves and changes as far as granting access to the system, but we still maintain everything in the background. But this is, it's not a DIY solution. It's not a public cloud solution, and it's not even desktop as a service. This is pretty much cloud-like VDI, but on your premises. So the organization gets to manage from even a network layer who can get to it, how they get to it, and what's being utilized. So there can really be, this can be a VPN-only solution, or it can be a public internet solution. But again, you have that option, you have that choice because the infrastructure is on your premises. So when we say that we're not managing by default the Windows 10 image, so that includes things like end user help desk support, image application lifecycle, image deployment, user profile management, user profile data storage, user data storage, and access network to control and client device management. So again, those are kind of outside of the scope by default, but they can be brought in. So basically, if you look at VDI as a whole, everything other than that we typically manage, and that's included on the as-a-service model. And this service can encompass both Citrix and VMware. Are there any questions so far? Okay, perfect. So the way that we typically like to kind of sell or view this is we kind of break it apart into how many of what kind of users do you need. And that's pretty much all we need to talk about is getting those base profiles configured and then deciding how many of those we need. So that kind of foregoes the whole conversation of what kind of hard drives and how many spindles and what's the throughput and what's the backplane on the bus for it. All those very deep architectural questions are pretty much wiped away, and we ask very simply, how much of what do you need? So it's pretty much just like going to the restaurant, ordering what's on the menu, and then getting that instead of going through, well, I want this cut of beef from this particular location, and you're cooked in this very specific way and put on this very specific plate. Those conversations are pretty much gone. So we're able to quickly provide pricing, quickly execute deployment, and quickly get you up and running by taking this more simplified approach. And again, we break this apart in very simple chunks, vCPUs, gigabytes of RAM, and gigabytes of disk on a per user basis. You count that up, you come to a solution, and you're ready to deploy. So from a pricing perspective, the way this looks is, so we have 4 scenarios where we have 1,000 users, or 2040, or 3080, or 2500. And per solution or per scenario, there is a number of clusters which kind of align with each one of these user types. And as long as we come to this total number of users to the 1,000, and we segregate it out here as seen, the total cost per user per month is $20.48 for like a task user, or $54 for a knowledge-based user. And this is very competitive to typical cloud solutions where it's usually a lot higher cost per user per month. And again, it's also stored in the cloud where it's completely ambiguous. Support is difficult, right, to say the least. And you have no control or visibility over really what's happening or who's using it or who you're using it next to and what you're sharing the infrastructure with. So this is a very good, again, kind of micro solution, again, that you own, you can manage to a degree, and you know exactly what's happening with it. And from a pricing perspective, it's very, very cost efficient compared to cloud models. So how do we do this? The way we do this is we combine software, licensing, hardware, and services into a complete package. We begin with the advisory components of it, where we meet with you very specifically and talk about your specific needs and desired outcomes. We then continue to actually designing the solution, planning migration, designing the solution of migration, and implementing it. And once that's completed, it's then handed off to the operational team where they take care of the day-to-day feeding, carrying, upgrades, enhancements, and this is all done under a project management view. Okay. Now, depending upon, again, this is specific. This can be either GreenLake, meaning OpEx, or this can be a CapEx purchase as well. So either way you go through it or you approach it from a pricing perspective, all these services and all these features and functionality is available. Again, we have a wide array of capabilities for enabling not just VDI, but also VPN, or any remote worker solution. These are just some of the items that we typically do on a day-to-day basis. This includes operation support under the detailed design portion, and something even as very specific as application development and migration under implementation and migration. But we go from start to finish with advisory, high-level design, detailed design, and of course implementation and migration, and then we conclude that with support services at the very end. So at HPE as a company, when it comes to developing, deploying these kind of remote worker solutions, we've been leading the industry for over 20 years. We have, I'd say, gigabytes of validated reference architectures, actual architectures, lots of customer references. We also offer the innovative financing options, again, through things like GreenLake, which nobody really does very well just yet. So that's a unique offering that only HPE has. And we have a huge partner ecosystem with people like Citrix, VMware, and Microsoft that allows us to kind of get the product in a very cost-effective manner and pass the savings along to you. So are there any questions so far before I hand off to Bob? Okay, Bob, it's all yours.
Excellent. Thanks, William. So I'd like to introduce Jeremiah Christensen. He's the Regional Sales Director for SentinelOne. He's going to talk a little bit about the kind of overall of what SentinelOne is, what they do, how they can help, and then how they can actually do some stuff with VDI as well. Jeremiah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it, and thanks for inviting me to the call today. So as Bob mentioned before, we've worked together for a very long time in different fashions, and I recently started at SentinelOne about a month ago, and as I made my decision, I had spent the last 5.5 years at Dean Software, saw tremendous growth, was a great place to work, but I was really looking to change gears and get into the security world. And when I'm looking at different companies, the thing I'm looking for is who's nimble, who's flexible, who's hot right now, who's looking at the newest way to do things, right? And in the world we're living in today, that's really where we need to find the opportunity is how can we do things differently, right? How can we adjust what we've done in the past and really look at this as an opportunity to increase, how we're doing things and do things a little bit better. So as I joined SentinelOne, that was one of the main things that I was really looking for, was someone who was doing something different. And at SentinelOne, our security platform is really an EPP, endpoint protection, EDR solution, also gives you visibility into IoT. We can manage cloud workloads, containerized workloads, and wrap that all around a managed service with about any flavor you could choose with the managed service. But it's really, really exciting technology to look at. And the thing that really differentiates us, the top thing I would say is we are behavioral-based antivirus, anti-malware, and then detection and response to that. So we are not a signature-based legacy solution where I need to have a database of known and unknown, or known good and bad things that I can go after. We actually used behavioral-based analytics that's in the agent on the endpoint to be able to react to this stuff much quicker. That is game-changing, right? I've been reading a lot of articles recently and talking to a lot of customers talking about how the threats are getting more and more advanced, right? And they're becoming more advanced because the bad guys are using artificial intelligence as well. They're using machine learning. They're using the same things that we're using to protect against it. So in a signature base, we really can't, do that. One of the big powers for us is our API, as the slide changed over here, is our API infrastructure. Anything you can do in our management console can be done through our API as well. So we've seen some very large customers, including AT&T, McKesson, Exxon, recently standardizing on SentinelOne, and a lot of it is that we tie together with everything. So we want to be that central point and that one provider in the middle of your security infrastructure to really give you all that visibility. And with us out in the world today, like we are, in the world really changing, I was just on a WebEx this morning out of the UK where it talked, is work a place we go or is it something we do? And I've been thinking about it all morning. It is absolutely something we do, right? What we go and do every day in our positions is what really makes our businesses run. However, we've had the constraints of where we go for so long, right? That has allowed us to build this infrastructure based on those four walls that everybody comes to. With everybody going out of the office, the attack surface has just gotten 20, 50 times larger overnight, right? With the click of a button, everybody went home, and now that attack surface is huge. Everybody at home plugged into their network. I mean, I know just from my experience here, I probably have 40 devices on my network, and they're all running through a $20 router that Comcast gave me to plug into my wall, right? So it's just the threat vector has increased so dramatically. So at SentinelOne, not only can we protect devices from Windows 2003, Service Patch 3 all the way up, Mac, we have Linux support as well, so we can really be a single centralized point. But the IoT piece is dramatically becoming more and more to the forefront of my customers' minds that I've been speaking to since I joined, is that there are so many devices out there. We need visibility to them. We need to be able to block them off, and that's something SentinelOne can give you, is that this device joined the network. Maybe it's a Bluetooth device. Maybe it's a USB device that's now plugged into a computer, attached to a computer. I'm on Bluetooth headphones right now. But just to be able to say, a threat is coming from this area, don't allow it to talk to any of the other computers, and then give IT a chance to go get to it. So we're coming up on time here. I got a lot more I could tell you guys. I got pages and pages of stuff. I am super excited and pumped to be here. But again, just wanted to introduce this to everybody, let everybody know that, we are coming on very strong here. We're seeing tremendous adoption with us. Deloitte ranked us the 7th fastest growing company in the world right now, the only one out of Silicon Valley that's a software only security vendor. And it's really a testament to what we do and how solid the technology is. So I'd love to talk to you guys more about it. If anybody has any interest, I'll turn it back over to Bob, but if anybody has any interest, please get in touch with any one of us, your Zunesis team, and we'd love to have a more detailed conversation with you about it. So Bob, back to you. Thanks for the time.
Outstanding, thank you. So it's funny you mentioned looking at your environment right now and seeing how many things are
Bob,
on.
You're breaking up a lot.
What's that?
You're breaking up a lot, buddy. Sorry, just wanted to give you a heads up. Move your phone again.
Well, so to my point, right? You're talking about all these devices that are connected, and I'm connected with my cell phone to my Wi-Fi. Right, and I've got kids at home that are probably on video conferences or playing Xbox. I don't know what they're doing at this point, but yeah, I mean, just the sheer amount of devices that are coming online, and you almost don't even realize how many things that are connected. So it's incredible. So one more thing that I did want to mention really quickly, when it comes to financial burden of trying to do things like deploy VDI as a change for your environment. Obviously, right now, everyone is very concerned about cash, whether it's individuals at home or it's organizations, and being able to stay very flexible but very conservative. HPE Financial Services has designated over $2 billion in financing specifically to help customers right now. So if you think, gosh, we really need to do something, but there's no way we can do it right now, that may not be the case. We have things like acquiring things now and paying later with delayed payments for 90 days. We have a 2020 payment relief program. I sound like I work for a car dealership, so I apologize, but reduce payments for 2020 and offset some of that financial commitment until next year. We have tech buyback programs. We even rent certified pre-owned technology right now. So if you need something to get over the hump for the next 3 to 12 months, we have gear that you can actually use and rent for a while to get to that point. So if you realize that your customers, your internal customers, really need extra X, we may have that. So let us know. Let us try to help. That's what we're here for. In fact, as a side note, probably a lot of people on this webinar today are going to get a phone call from someone at HPE. Not because you signed up to be here, but because today is our United States today is a national outreach day. We're reaching out to customers, potential customers. We just want to see how you're doing. We're not necessarily calling you to sell you something. We just want to reach out as a force for good. We're trying to reach out in these crazy times. Just make sure that everything's good. If there's something we can help with, we'd love to do that. But otherwise, we just want to make sure that everything's cool. And if there's anything we can help with, let us know. So again, you may be getting a phone call today. It's not because you signed up for this. We're not going to use it to do that. But just know that you might get a phone call because that's what we're trying to do today. We really do want to just get out there and help. As we said last time, if you weren't here, we do have a donation thing there on the screen if you're interested in that. Again, if you go to tinyurl.com/HPE COVID, you can see more information about exactly what HPE is doing around these times. So if you are interested in what is HPE doing and how are they trying to help in these times, we have lots of programs. I think it's like a 3-page PDF of all the things that we're doing today. So again, thank you so much for coming today. I want to thank SentinelOne, Jeremiah. Thank you for coming on board and being a great partner with us. Of course, Zunesis, thank you, Rachel, behind the scenes. She loves to be able to be behind the scenes, so I'm going to mention her name anyway. She's done an awesome job putting all of this stuff together, so we certainly appreciate Zunesis' partnership. They may be calling you today as part of our outreach program as well. So thank you so much. And then, of course, thank you, William, as well, for coming out and talking about Point Next and Green Lake. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Let us know. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy and happy and don't have to buy pants in 3 sizes bigger like I'm probably going to have to do. But everybody stay safe, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.